Imagine waking up in a nameless country with a completely different face staring back at you in the mirror and realizing your government just wiped your real identity from existence. You don't exist anymore, and in exactly 90 seconds. The only world you ever knew is going to burn. Part 1, the Inciting countdown. You are sitting in a dimly lit, suffocatingly humid cafe in Karachi. The ceiling fan hums a low-frequency buzz, cutting through heavy air, but doing nothing to cool the room. You have been stationed in this exact grid coordinate for 6 consecutive weeks, blending into the city's white noise. Welcome to Shadow, POV, exactly 3 tables away. An unassuming man in a faded linen shirt sits entirely alone. He has a $25 million bounty on his head issued by a joint task force that officially does not exist. He does not know you exist. Nobody does. You order tea and spread a newspaper, looking like background static. Suddenly, your encrypted burn phone vibrates twice. Through the fabric, your fingers read the single flash message. Green light. The operation is live. In 90 seconds, an overhead drone will turn this concrete cafe into a smoking crater, vaporizing everyone inside. If you enjoyed deconstructing these hidden systems, subscribe to the channel now to support our upcoming classified deep dives. You have precisely 60 seconds to walk out without drawing a single eye. You stand, leave cash, and walk away into the blinding sunlight. Part 2, Level 1, the recruitment of a ghost. Leaving behind the ash and sensory chaos of Karachi, you find yourself forced into an entirely different kind of theater, where the stakes are measured not in seconds, but in the slow, permanent dissolution of who you are. The world naively assumes that elite shadow operations are built on loud bravado, drawing top-tier talent through polished brochures or high-profile commendations. The clinical truth is that there is no human resources desk, no job posting, and no recruiter waiting at a career fair. They profile your psychological baseline and identify you only when you are already executing at the peak of human capability. To even enter this unseen tier, you must belong to the top 1% of the 1%. You have survived the grueling selection pipelines of Delta Force, SEAL Team 6, or the CIA's paramilitary branch, executing missions that will never see declassification. You think you have witnessed the absolute limit of systemic intensity. But you are wrong. The erasure begins without warning when a stranger slides into your booth at a highway diner. He wears no uniform, carries no rank, and lacks any visible name tag. He has the soft hands of an accountant and a completely unathletic physique, the exact archetype your brain instinctively wipes from memory 5 seconds after eye contact. He sets down a plain folder and asks a deceptively simple question. How is your Arabic? You reply that it is decent, perfected in the lawless badlands of Syria and Yemen that never make the nightly news. He nods, sliding the paper closer. Part 3, Level 2, Erasing the Soul. As that plain vanilla folder slides across the table, you realize the true weight of the question asked is not about your linguistic fluency, but your willingness to watch your entire existence dissolve into nothingness. You look down at the single sheet of white printer paper inside. There are no official government letterheads, no colorful agency seals, and no classification markings. Just text. The pitch is terrifyingly simple. There is a unit with no name, no patch, and no records. The military denies it. The CIA pretends they have never heard of it. And Congress unknowingly funds it as a nameless line item hidden deep inside someone else's budget. Accepting this means becoming an absolute ghost. Your military records will falsely show you retired or transferred to a boring, forgettable training command in Kansas. Your family will think you have a mundane desk job. You will miss birthdays. You will miss funerals. And you will call home only when an operational window allows, which won't be often. If you lose your life in the field, there will be no flag on the coffin, no body sent home, and no ceremonial salute. Just a star carved into a limestone wall in a building you will never see, with no name under it. The man asks if you are in. You think about your wife, your kids, and the life you promised them. You say yes, completely unaware of what you just signed up for. Part 4, Level 3, Surveillance Mastery. Signing away your identity in that nondescript diner is merely a psychological threshold. The concrete reality of your erasure materializes 72 hours later inside a blacked-out transport van destination unknown. You step out onto a barren, modern training compound, buried deep within the dense pine forest of the American South, completely disoriented by design, having already survived the grueling physical pipelines of Delta Force and SEAL selection. You walk into this environment believing you grasp the definitive limits of tactical adversity. You are entirely wrong. The instructors here do not care about your 20-mile rucksack pace or your ability to put a cold round through a target from 1,000 yards out. Your previous life validated your lethality. This new life demands to know if you possess the discipline to disappear. Day 1 introduces the raw, psychological friction of basic surveillance tradecraft. Handed a single photograph of an unremarkable man with brown hair and a medium build. Your directive is deceptively simple. Maintain loose visual contact through a packed metropolitan downtown grid for 8 consecutive hours without letting him, or anyone else, spot your presence. You track him with the absolute confidence of a seasoned operator who has hunted active insurgents across the chaotic sectors of Baghdad. You fail systematically within the first 2 hours. Back at the facility, there is no physical punishment or explosive shouting. Instead, an instructor calmly boots up a high-resolution monitor and slides a series of candid prints across the clean desk. They are clear, compromising photographs of you. In the background of every single frame stands an unremarkable woman pushing a standard baby stroller. She was the counter-surveillance asset, and she burned you 3 times before noon. You moved too fast across the street, breaking the pedestrian flow. You checked your phone at the wrong tactical second. You made brief eye contact with a shopkeeper who was also on the training payroll. Your elite warrior posture stood out like a flare, proving that your survival instincts are now your greatest liability. Part 5, Level 4, Becoming the Gray Man. Staring at those surveillance photos of your own tactical failures, you realize that the armor you spent a lifetime building in special operations is the exact thing keeping you exposed. Start over. The instructor commands flatly, sending you right back into the concrete labyrinth. You fail again before noon. This time, the target ducks into a crowded seafood restaurant. You hesitate for a fraction of a second at the threshold, deciding whether to follow him inside. That split second is an amateur move. A real professional would have walked past without a glance, circled the block, and waited from a safe distance. By day 3, you fail because you wore the exact same canvas jacket 2 days in a row, a repeated baseline pattern that an observant eye easily tracks. By day 5, you fail because of your walk. You move with an unmistakable aura of supreme confidence. Chest squared, spine perfectly straight, eyes scanning corners. You look like a highly trained soldier. And in the civilian world, soldiers stand out like flares. To survive, you must unlearn decades of elite conditioning. You have to round your shoulders, slightly drag your feet, and actively slouch, adopting the dull, exhausted posture of an underpaid office worker who just wants to be left alone by the world. On day 7, you finally complete the 8-hour tracking exercise with 0 detection. There is no praise. The instructor simply nods and hands you a new photo of a target who knows he is being followed and will actively try to flush you out. For 6 brutal weeks, you systematically re-engineer your posture, learning that a baseball cap makes you memorable, while a generic gray jacket acts as absolute camouflage because the human brain categorizes it as empty space. Part 6, Level 5, Behavioral Infiltration. Mastering the physical erasure of your presence is useless if your voice, your gestures, or your cultural blind spots instantly betray your foreign origin the moment you open your mouth. The behavioral infiltration phase systematically strips away your remaining Western conditioning, replacing it with the brutal precision of localized psychological warfare. You enter the program already possessing a solid foundation in textbook Arabic, but conventional fluency is a liability here. Instead, they force you to master the hyper-localized Yemeni dialect, absorbing the sharp, gritty slang unique to the back alleys of Sana'a. You spend weeks practicing the distinct hand gestures native to the port city of Aden, learning that regional tribal men sit differently in wooden chairs. Some cross their ankles tightly, while others rest their elbows heavily on their knees. Sitting the wrong way in a local tea shop instantly exposes you as an outsider to any observing hostile intelligence asset. You learn to aggressively argue about regional football clubs with the raw passion of a local gambler, memorizing the specific cultural touchstones and jokes from local daytime soap operas or game shows. You must know who the corrupt politicians are and exactly which underdog athletic club won the football championship in 1987. The instructors force you into a 3-hour block, dedicated entirely to drinking a single glass of tea correctly. This has nothing to do with taste. It is about the posture, the angle of your fingers, the way you blow across the surface to cool it, and the specific sound the glass makes when meeting the saucer. Every microculture executes this mundane ritual differently. Get it wrong, and you are marked as a target. Part 7, Level 6, the Black Static Test. Once you have theoretically integrated the behavioral nuances of a culture down to the micro mechanics of a single glass of tea, the handlers immediately subject your psychological structure to the ultimate test. They blindfold you, place you on an unmarked transport aircraft, and drop you directly into an alien environment, a densely populated foreign city with absolutely no financial resources, no identification documents, no weapon systems, and no extraction plan. Your core directive is uncompromising. Survive for 7 consecutive days. Complete 3 high-risk intelligence objectives. And do not get compromised. By day 1, raw hunger actively distorts your focus as you are forced to sleep on freezing concrete under a highway bypass bridge alongside local homeless men, adapting your vocabulary to their unfiltered night conversations in real time. On day 2, out of sheer physical necessity, you steal flatbread from a crowded open-air market, instantly suppressing a flash of moral guilt, because this is the clinical reality of operational tradecraft. By day 3, you weaponize synthetic empathy, befriending a local retail businessman with a fabricated story about being violently robbed of your passport. He takes pity on you, buys you dinner, and seamlessly introduces you to his social circle. By day 4, you leverage that cover to photograph a secure government facility from a restricted angle without drawing the attention of perimeter guards. You complete the cycle undetected, but the permanent washout rate here is 90%. Elite combat operators wash out because their massive egos cannot handle the absolute requirement of invisibility. The unit discards the alphas, keeping only the gray men with forgettable faces and extraordinary skills hidden behind aggressive mediocrity. Part 8, Level 7, Operation Klaus Richter, the Peripheral Shadow. Graduating from that unspoken crucible with a new name and a hollow identity leaves you detached from the military apparatus entirely, stepping directly into the clinical friction of real-world operations. Your small organization consists of perhaps 200 personnel worldwide. A shadow footprint compared to the broader Special Operations Command. The unit runs on two distinct legs. Gint, the technology wizards, tracking communications across continents, and Humint, which is your world. You go where data cannot reach, constructing relationships with sources who have no idea they are targets. Overt units handle the visible kinetic strikes. You simply map the vulnerabilities and locate the safe houses before vanishing. You operate without base structures, using embassies, hotels, and apartments under fake names. There is no rank in the field. You possess multiple cover documents for lives that do not exist. Your first deployment targets Hassan, a high-level financier moving millions for transnational terror organizations across North Africa. On paper, he is an upstanding corporate tycoon filing taxes and attending charity galas. In reality, his funds finance non-state actors. Your instructions are absolute. Get close. Map his world and do not get caught. You arrive as Klaus Richter, a generic German machinery representative with an airtight background legend, business cards, and a remote secretary in Munich. You establish an aggressively boring routine for 2 months, doing nothing interesting. Then, you slowly insert yourself into his peripheral vision, joining his commercial gym, praying in the back row of his mosque, and reading newspapers at his favorite afternoon cafe. You never make eye contact. You simply exist nearby as a ghost. By week 6, you map his schedule perfectly, logging his car movements and encrypted communications. Suddenly, you identify a dark sedan operating counter-surveillance along his route. You adapt, creating immediate distance to protect your cover, while the remote technical team cracks his phone. The intercept reveals an impending jackpot, an urgent meeting with an international courier carrying the network's entire financial roadmap. Part 9, Level Max, Hunting the Shape of the Whole. Intercepting that compromised financial roadmap triggers a clinical chain reaction, shifting your role from a passive shadow in Hassan's peripheral vision to an active predator, hunting an absolute ghost. You track the nervous courier through dense metropolitan traffic as he switches between 3 distinct taxis. He checks into a mid-tier hotel, room 412. That night, your technical support asset safely sedates him. Every single banking document inside his leather briefcase is photographed with high-resolution tactical cameras before being returned exactly as it was found. The next morning, he delivers the copied files, entirely unaware of the breach. Within a week, $40 million in terror funds are frozen, and major coordinated infrastructure threats are permanently dismantled in Paris, London, and Bangkok. Klaus Richter vanishes, his leased apartment wiped entirely clean. But that victory is merely baseline static compared to your next assignment. A master weapons designer, codenamed the Engineer, responsible for sophisticated explosive devices that have severely impacted security operations across international conflict zones. He is an absolute phantom. He uses no digital devices, changes routes constantly, and moves between locations every 7 days. Satellites and drones have failed to find him for 3 continuous years. You realize you cannot localize him directly. You must look for the shape of the hole he leaves in the world. For 14 grueling months, your team painstakingly maps his human network across 3 separate countries, with you adopting distinct cover identities from a humanitarian aid worker to a wealthy real estate investor. The definitive breakthrough arrives via a single intercepted communication detailing an important guest at a secluded mountain compound. Posing as a traveling documentary journalist alongside an activity photographer, you spend 2 weeks embedded in the village, drinking tea with elders while watching the target through a spotting scope disguised as a camera lens. You spot his financial proxy, You immediately transmit the precise coordinates down to the single meter, detailing guard rotations and optimal approach vectors. By nightfall, you cross the border. 72 hours later, the network is permanently broken. Part 10, the phantom echoes. Watching the dust settle over that broken mountain network offers no clinical triumph. Only a quiet return to the phantom static of an existence that has systematically erased every trace of who you used to be. You have survived this dark space for nearly 8 continuous years, shifting through 19 entirely different cover identities across 14 separate foreign nations. You speak 5 regional languages with a flawless native accent, navigating the dense districts of Karachi as easily as a local merchant. Yet, looking into a stained mirror, you can no longer remember your actual birth name for several terrifying seconds. The mental toll is an absolute. Heavy isolation. Your marriage is quietly dead, processed by specialized agency lawyers because your spouse could not anchor her life to a ghost who flinched at sudden noises and disappeared for months at a time. Your 14-year-old son views you as a polite stranger who routinely misses birthdays. Personal relationships are a catastrophic operational liability. Your only true peers are names carved as faceless. Anonymous stars into a limestone wall you will never be legally permitted to see. When the communication lines finally cease and the handlers stop tapping your shoulder, there is no golden watch or public parade. You fold your newspaper inside a sunlit civilian cafe, leave exact change on the table, and look at a rigid rookie trying entirely too hard to look invisible. You walk out into the warmth of the crowd, a forgettable face completely gone, disappearing one last time. You step out into the warmth of the sunlight, just another completely forgettable, invisible face in the crowd, and you quietly disappear one last time. The noise of the city swallows you whole, but the silence inside your head is deafening. You realize that walking away doesn't mean the game ends. It just means the board changes. Your true identity was traded away decades ago for a nameless star on a cold limestone wall. A transaction sealed not with a signature, but with your entire life. You are left with the ghost static of 19 different lives, none of which truly belong to you. Yet, as you look at the ordinary people rushing past, checking their phones and holding hands, a profound sense of clarity hits you. They are safe because you are invisible. The deepest lesson from this shadow existence is the extraordinary power of absolute humility and the erasure of ego. In a modern world obsessed with public validation, chasing digital status, and loudly bragging about achievements, true mastery actually lies in aggressive mediocrity on the outside, powered by exceptional competence on the inside. The loudest person in the room is always the most vulnerable asset. To apply this tradecraft to your current life, stop demanding constant credit for your work. Master the discipline of the gray man. Internalize your value, let your results operate silently, and observe the patterns of the world without needing to control them. True power doesn't need a spotlight. It dictates reality directly from the peripheral shadows. If you were placed in that diner and handed that folder today, would you choose to accept the trade and become a ghost for the greater good? Please share your perspective in the comment section below so everyone can read and discuss your view. Don't forget to subscribe to Shadow POV to support the channel and unlock our upcoming deep dives into the hidden systems of the world.